Luvuyo gave his life to work beneath the ground. Years of hard work, sacrifice, all for a future he hoped would be easier. When the work was done, he went back home with only what he thought he had. But what he didn't know is that something was left behind, a benefit with his name on it, until one day a call came through. ICTS Tracing Services had found him and found what was his. Because what you're owed should never be forgotten. Now Luvuyo's dignity is restored. His story complete. ICTS Tracing Services, the benefit you never knew about.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Exec Meet and Greet, where I'm chatting to Christine du Toit, who is the newest director at SALT Employee Benefits, and looking forward to hearing a little bit about her career and about her story. So welcome to Ebnet Stream, Christine.
Hi, good day, Natalie. It's such a pleasure being here on Ebnet and talking to you today, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too. And let's jump right into it with perhaps starting with you sharing a little bit about your career. How did you end up at SALT EB, and what were the kind of pivotal moments in your journey to where you are now?
Okay, so my journey actually started as a SAICA trainee. I'm an auditor by profession. I've been in the audit industry for 30 years. Yes, I survived 30 years in a very highly regulated industry with IRBA. And I know within financial services, also very regulated by the FECA and everything that's coming out currently. So my journey has been in the audit industry, and during that time in the industry, I also served on the SAICA board. And I think for me, a pivotal moment in my career was I was on the board during the state capture period. And sitting on the board, and looking at everything that has happened, and really had to make decisions at a point where it influenced not just the SAICA CA profession, but also business at large, and looking at the trust. So I've seen my career, if I look back, at these pivotal moments that has actually shaped me into the role that I'm now currently fulfilling and have stepped into. So that to me was the first one. Sitting there, you really had to make difficult decisions, short span of time. And that really elevated me as a person to think on your feet, work through a lot of information. Then I would say what then pulled me more into the role where I am now is in 2023. I turned 50, so I'm giving my age away. I turned 50 in that year, and I realized that it was a new season for me. Being an auditor for so many years, having audited in the financial services industry, so I was sitting on the other side of the table at that stage. Now I'm sitting on this side, as a director being audited. I realized that I was sitting with a wealth of knowledge that I've built up, working with so many founders, directors, corporates, middle management. And for me, I wanted to give back that knowledge. So I then embarked on an international business coaching course, which I then completed. And I started business coaching, which I loved, got the opportunity to work directly with the Global Coach of the Year for 2 years in a row. She was the Global Coach of the Year as only one of 2 international facilitators. And that gave me the opportunity to work with international businesses. And what I realized from that is our problems in South Africa as business owners, in corporates, it's global problems. They're all across the world, those problems are the same. A little bit different because South Africa, we are unique with some of the problems we facing, but definitely unique. And this has basically then put me on this journey of evolving out of the auditor, using all my experience that I got over the years into business coaching. And then I was approached by the founder and chairperson of Salt Employee Benefits, Edith Stradom, to come and work with his executives. So I came in as a business coach, working with the executives, and then he appointed me as director within the company. And that is to make sure that from an executive and a board level, that there's more strategic alignment. And there's collaboration between the board and, what is happening with the executives and, in the business. And I think there is, especially in some businesses, this disparity between there's the board, and then it's the executives, that deals with the everyday, and all the legislation. So I'm basically being that link now between the board and being with the executives and working as a team together within SALT. And as you know, we are 70 years old this year, so there's a big legacy that comes with it. And especially with my business coaching, I've focused on legacy. So for me, it's really at my heart, and I definitely jumped to the opportunity to be part of this legacy.
There's so much in there, and I think it's very exciting and very unusual to see somebody go from an auditing, which in my mind is numbers, to a coaching, which in my mind is feelings, kind of role. And you talk about this anniversary that is 50, and without commenting on whether I have transgressed or gone over this milestone myself, is the opportunity or the ability for reinvention important?
I think it is very important. If you don't reinvent, you basically stagnate where you are. And I think if we look at the journey as individuals, you start off at school, hopefully go to university or, do some sort of education, become young adult, young professional. And then normally life happens, with kids and everything. And especially we as women, normally the career takes, a step back in that time. And then like with me now, children out of the house and you into a second phase. And I think what is important is as an individual, you build up a really wealth of knowledge, and experience. And when you get to this age now, it's actually for me also a way to give back. Give back in your community, give back with the people that you work with, and give back to business. You've got all this experience, and that is where the reinventing is happening. And normally when I sit down with people to get to that reinventing, because we're human, and it's easier for us to get stuck where we are and just keep on, year in, year out, do the same thing. You sometimes need someone just to pull up your head and say, listen, if you had a blank canvas today and you can dream, what will it be? What you want to do? And that is especially when I work with executives and with teams, and within the SALT, it was the first question that I asked the executives as I worked on a one-on-one basis with them is, if you can dream, what is it that you would like doing? Do you enjoy what you're doing? It's important. And that's where the reinventing of yourself happens, because then you sit back and once you think about it and say, I like what I'm doing, but if I can add this or I can change this, and then from that flows a career development plan as well.
Ebnet is proud to bring you top quality content from experts across the financial services industry in South Africa and internationally for free. Your support helps us in doing this. All we ask is that you subscribe to our channels by clicking the subscribe button below. Share this video with others you think will benefit from it, and give us thumbs up if you are enjoying the content. That way, you help us help you. Thank you from the team at Ebnet. For more great content, please visit www.ebnet.co.za.
Such a great image that you evoke there, and this leadership journey, and I can't help but think about this world that we're in at the moment, high uncertainty, geopolitical stories going on. And I mean, crises really. I mean, now the new story is El Nino and, are we going to have water and food, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're living in an exceptionally volatile world. And most of the execs who I speak to talk to this kind of idea of the new way of leadership. Now, as a coach, let's tap into that side of you. What would your advice to leaders, business leaders, both in financial services and others, what would your advice to them be in this environment?
So in this environment, I always say you can't pour from an empty cup. So for you as a leader, and it's not selfish, you need to look at yourself first and make sure that you are healthy, you are sleeping enough, you're taking enough breaks. These cycles that they talk about, every 8 weeks to take a long weekend, every 3 months to take, at least 10 days off, a longer holiday, after 12 months. And that is important because with everything that's happening around us, it's mental stress, it's physical stress, it's the environment. It's got, effect on us. And you need to make sure that you actually look after your body and your mental health first, and that's why the sleep is so important. Then you are in a position then to pour from your cup and actually to look at your teams. And the same applies to them. So I think especially with everything that is happening, people are stressed, And remember, when the stress that we are experiencing today is not a lion that's chasing us, but it's similar for our bodies, that we are experiencing. So it might be that individual that come to work this morning and maybe struggled with transport to get there, whose life was unsafe, getting to the office and having empathy for that. And saying to them, how was your morning? And in this environment that they can speak up and talk to you, but you will not be able to do that if you are also coming from a place where your cup is empty. So I think for leaders especially, I always say a fish rots from the head. So we as the leaders need to make sure that we are healthy, we are in a good space, that you really physically look after yourself, but also, educate yourself more. There's so much available nowadays, educate more, read, and to be able then to filter that down, into the organizations. That I would say in today's world for leaders, that is definitely what we need to look at, because information is not that the leader is anymore the brightest person that knows the most in the room, because that information is now at your fingertips, with AI. So it's the soft skills that AI can't give us, that empathy, because we still work with people.
How do you stay grounded?
Okay, so I stay grounded. Luckily, I'm married to a husband that keeps me grounded. He loves cooking, so luckily I'm not a cook. And he's very strict with me. He will say to me, why are you still up? You need to get your sleep, which is very important, and also to take breaks. So your question probably is, what do I like doing when I take a break? I love walking, so I've walked the Camino. When I turned 50, I love being outdoors. It grounds you, fresh air. And then I love skiing. So obviously we can't do it in South Africa. So my favorite place is Italy, to go to Italy for holiday, to go skiing. So that is basically how I stay grounded. During the week, I do Pilates. So I think it's very important for us that as executives that sit a lot, that you do some exercise as well. So it's to have that routine and to build it in and to be very strict with yourself, because it's so easy just to keep on working, but it's to make sure that you've got that same discipline that you have to attend a meeting, that you've got that same discipline for the meeting to go to the Pilates, to switch off the computer, to spend some family time, have a dinner together, not in front of the TV or the computer, but actually sit together and have a nice meal together. So that is very, very important to me, to stay grounded.
Those are lovely, lovely practical tips, and certainly something that we all hear more and more often now is, the ability to switch off, or the ability to manage this kind of work-life balance, which is a phrase I don't particularly enjoy, because, for a variety of reasons, but this ability to be able to compartmentalize, or kind of manage your time deliberately, and like we say to individuals in our industry, you start saving, when your salary comes in, invest in yourself first. It's pretty much the picture that you're painting as well, is don't forget to look after yourself, particularly if you're a mom, and kind of our way of being is really to look after others first. And speaking of looking after others, when you talk about your role within SALT and this new appointment, it's a lovely combination, as I've said, of this kind of feelings plus the numbers, the kind of hard-coded in you. Mentorship and growing the next generation must be something that is important, or certainly something that you guys are talking about. Now, you as an individual, how would you, or where would you place mentoring? And how would you go about it in the kind of organizational priorities right now?
Yeah, so mentoring is very important, and obviously succession planning in businesses, because the two for me go hand in hand, and the two together make sure that there's a legacy that you're building. So with mentoring, and I think this is especially in the role that I am currently, is the mentoring with the executives, but also hearing, so you say that soft feelings, and then the numbers, and then going to the board with that. So for me, the mentoring happens in the day-to-day. It's not that I've got a coaching session, you come in, and you've got a coaching session, now you go out, and then it's normal day-to-day. It's got to be integrated. So it's sitting in that meeting, maybe with a client, and then I will pick up something, and then going back to the individual and saying, what, why did you do this? Or would you handle it differently maybe next time if you knew about this? So it's actually working as a team together, and being mentored. So I very much describe it like the rugby is going on now, It's just like a coach stands on the side and can see what the players, are doing, and will pull certain people at certain times off the field and put other people on, and also will know this one currently, has got an injury, don't send them in. So that is where the coaching comes in for me. And the mentoring for me is standing next to the person, is playing with them on the field. Being with them in the trenches and telling them, I'm going to assist you with this now, but I'm going to show you how it was done. So I think that is, to me, that is the distinction between the mentoring happening and the coaching.
Mm. And as you are talking about sport, and I mean, we're in the middle of a massive sport weekend of tennis and rugby and soccer, and there's just too much going on. The reality is that not everybody wins all the time.
No.
And so there are, not opportunities, there are moments in life that you may feel you have failed, or that are challenging for an individual. In this world, what is your advice, learning from your own experiences? And perhaps you can share, you're comfortable enough to share one of those with us, but from your own life and from your coaching experience, how would you encourage people to deal with challenges, or to deal with what they may regard as failures in their careers?
Yeah, so I did go through it. The time when I was a young professional was also the time when we went through a lot of transformation in our country with the new transformation laws coming in. So I was at one of the big four audit companies earmarked for partnership. I've gone through the partnership program, was waiting to be admitted. And then for 2 years in a row, I couldn't go in as a partner due to these reasons. And then I decided to leave and actually go out and start my own audit practice. So some would have seen it maybe as a failure at that stage, stepping out of that opportunity, and starting with a small, audit firm. But I think that is also like pivotal moments in your career. Are you going to be negative about it, or are you going to see it actually as an opportunity? And I think by seeing it as an opportunity and unlocking, it's actually then set up my career going forward, because it set up that I was then involved in the SAICA structures on a committee level. And I spent 20 years, at SAICA in different roles on committees and ending up at the board. But that gave me the path of my development. So all of this I actually recapped last year, and I co-authored with the founder of Reebok in a book, Survive and Thrive, about the journey that I've had, and especially with South Africa, where we were at that stage and where we are now. A lot of people would have probably been negative about it. But as I said, you've got to look at those instances where it might seem as a stumbling block. I see it as an opportunity to get on top of it, and it actually elevates you for, going forward, and not as a stumbling block, that you can't get past.
I was going to ask you for a word that in your opinion best describes humaning right now, but I think the title of your book is an interesting one, Survive and Thrive, which is kind of the dilemma that a lot of us are facing. Am I just going to survive this, or am I going to use this as an opportunity? And so as we look at the world right now, and as we look at your new appointment at SALT, what is the legacy that you're hoping to leave behind?
Well, the legacy that I want to leave behind is to really for SALT to be a disruptor in the financial services sector, especially in the administration field. From what I can see, there's still a lot that can be done in the sector, especially with new innovation coming in. And I know when you spoke to Nathalie, who's our Chief Experience Officer, we have got, benefit counselor, which is very innovative in this industry. I think there's a lot that can happen. And people are scared for innovation. They're scared for AI. But we must still remember that there's still a human on the other side. There's still a member that we're working with. And we must see innovation as a tool to look at repetitive tasks, repetitive things, to make it easier for us and use it in that way. So the legacy I want to leave is definitely for SALT to be known, as the technology advanced administrator within this sector that's really a trailblazer within financial services.
Trailblazer is such a great word. It is one of my favorites. And as we kind of chew on that, a question that I really do enjoy asking execs like yourselves is, what do your children think you do?
Well, I've only got one daughter. Quite funny enough, she said to me, "Mom, I will never study finance. I will never become an auditor." And she's now studying finance, but she said to me, "I'm not going to become an auditor, definitely." So I think she's very much familiar with what I'm doing. Yeah, so it's not, I think now with my new role, she sometimes got a little bit of questions, but what are you doing now? And yeah, I'm explaining to her. She also sees that I love what I'm doing. It's just, being your own child, sometimes that I will talk to her and she says to me, stop coaching me. You're not my coach, you're my mother.
I thought mommying was a bit of a coaching job, but okay.
Yeah.
Christine, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit better today. Thank you so much for spending some time. And I wish you the best of luck in your new role at SALT.
Oh, thanks, Natalie, and thanks for chatting to you. Thanks for inviting me to Ebnet, and thanks for having these conversations with the executives. It was really lovely.
Luvuyo gave his life to work beneath the ground. Years of hard work, sacrifice, all for a future he hoped would be easier. When the work was done, he went back home with only what he thought he had. But what he didn't know is that something was left behind, a benefit with his name on it, until one day a call came through. ICTS Tracing Services had found him and found what was his. Because what you're owed should never be forgotten. Now Luvuyo's dignity is restored. His story complete. ICTS Tracing Services, the benefit you never knew about.